Welcome to week 2, where we address educational problems happening in lower income minority communities. This week is very unique. We're looking at how our education systems and our prison systems are both structured the same exact way. One institution's supposed to be helping with creative thinking and getting you to find your individuality, while the other system's trying to do the opposite, trying to strip you of your individuality to get you all to act the same. Yet, both of these institutions are structured exactly the same way. Why is that happening? Particularly, how is that happening? Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Dr. Tink, where every week we will discuss all kind of issues ranging from religion to education to philosophy, as well as sociological problems in our community. So take a listen. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like and subscribe. All right, so let's jump right into it. What is going on in our educational systems? Have you ever just walked by a lower income minority school and just took a look at the building? And what you tend to see in real, what we call dangerous communities, sometimes you'll even see bars outside of the window. So meaning the kids can't even really look out the window because there's bars which look very similar to jail and prison bars, structured right outside the outside of the windows. Let's go past what we physically see. Let's go walk into the building. You walk into the building, you're met by a security guard, sometimes a police officer, right away. And I want you to start thinking about the schools that are more affluent communities and tell me if you see these same similarities with the bars in the window, with a security guard or police officer meeting at the door. Sometimes there's a metal detector stationed right in the entrance. All this is already creating a culture of criminality before the student even gets to step foot into the classroom. We get past the physical bars in the windows. We get past the security guard. We get past the the metal detector, and then we start seeing some other parallels that are very similar to how we structure our prison systems. All right, so right away, the first thing I could tell you, they give you a badge. And I'm not saying all these are wrong, but I want you to start thinking, why is this so? Especially in specific communities that we already know have a pipeline to the prison system. All right. They give you a badge right away. No longer is your name Michelle, Michael, or Patrick. Your name is now identification number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Very similar to what we see in the prison stricture. This idea that we are now supposed to walk in straight lines. All right. You walk in straight lines, you don't deviate. This idea of an emphasis on silence and order, and you can only speak when spoken to. And I want you to, again, compare this to affluent schools. These kids have way more liberties. They can leave the classroom at will. That doesn't happen in certain contexts, and it creates a subservient mindset in some of these kids compared to this freedom and this liberty and this creative thinking that you see in other contexts. All right? You don't speak unless being spoken to. There's a strong authoritarian structure in both prison and in these low income minority schools, that there is this law that you abide. You do not have any input in anything. You speak when spoken to. You should obey and follow instructions. That's the culture that's being built from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade. You obey, you never challenge authority, you follow laws and policies and procedures. And if you go even deeper with this, we're talking about silence and order, we're talking about dress code, we're talking about identification number. Some schools tell you that you could only dress in these clothes. Just like we give you in the prison system, you now can only dress in these clothes. And so if you start really looking at this dynamic, you're starting to see the parallels, walking straight line, no input in the decision making. They don't tell you, hey, the way I teach, day one, what I do with my students, we set the rules for the classroom. This is what's going to happen. Tell me, do you like this rule? What do you think we should consider late? What do you think we should do when someone violates this? And so now when you feel like you're part of the decision making, then you are more active and engaged in the educational process. Not only that, but also following the rules because you helped create them. But when you have no decision, no part or play in the decision making or how the things are set, you are always an effect of everything. You are not a creator in anything. And so therefore you become more reliant on order and stability to come from up top, from leaders, from teachers, from administrators, and you're always waiting for instruction. And you cannot think on your own 2 feet. And just think about it. We tell you when you can eat. We tell you when you can go outside. We tell you when you can play in schools. And you see that same characteristic in our jails. They tell you when you can go out into the yard. They tell you when you can eat. They tell you when you can go to sleep. And so what I'm saying, and I understand educators, we need to have some kind of structure. But what I'm saying is if you think about it, the way we designed our prison systems was to control you and to control how you think and act. And what I'm proposing here is if that same culture or structure is in our education systems, are we really engaging these students to become creative, independent thinkers and learners, or are we also getting them to be controlled and control the way they think, act, and behave? And if that is the case, we are not creating independent, creative, critical thinkers in that context. We are creating robots, students who all think, act, and behave the same. And the effects are clear. If you look in one community, you find students tend to be more creative thinkers. They tend to challenge teachers, ask questions, go back with administration, come up with ideas, create jobs later on, things of that nature. And then you find another context where students tend to always wait for direction. What do I do next? How do you show me your work? And if you don't do it this way, it's wrong. This whole idea of having all the students like a factory think the same, what tends to happen there, these kids tend to not think of new jobs or create new jobs. They tend to try to find good jobs. So what am I proposing? We need to look at the structure, culture of how we're building our schools and how we're creating our students to think. And if it's not leaving room for creativity and creative thinking, something is wrong with the culture and context of that environment. It's not a healthy learning space. Yes, I understand there's behaviors. Yes, I understand that it's tougher in some communities, but we need to find ways that we can still keep the learning space engaging and creative and not allow these students to constantly be an effect of everything that happens in the educational space. Think about that. Let me know how you feel. Why are our prisons and our educational systems so many parallels in the structure and culture of those two institutions? Dr. Tink, see you next week.